Today we're going to look at a 2022 RAM Promaster van. This is a 1500 model. It's considered a 159 wheelbase, and I had it converted for a wheelchair access. So it is set up with hand controls for me to drive, and it has a wheelchair lift in it, and one other item in it to hold the wheelchair, because I don't drive from my wheelchair. I transfer it to the driver's seat, and that's why you see it's swiveled around right now. But let's take a look at it. Let's start out. I'm going to come over to the van and let's take a look. I'll open up the van so you can see. This side has a sliding door, which really isn't needed. It's a manual sliding door. And you can see a little bit inside the van. Now the van comes from Dodge with just a metal back, nothing in it. This van was then shipped to a company in Arizona called Tempest, and Tempest put in the interior. And whenever they put the interior in, that included the skylight, the lights you see up above, and this back seat, and the flooring. And so they made the van look more like it was a passenger van and less like just a work van. And then if we take a look at the floor here, you can see that this floor looks built up. The van normally comes with the floor down here, and then this is usually just all open, and it gives you a lot more room to stand. But what I wanted a UVL in the van, so that the lift was a UVL, which is under vehicle lift, and that's what was put right here. So instead of being under the vehicle, I had it mounted inside the vehicle, and you'll see it when we go to the other side. But while we're here, I'll go ahead and explain some of this here. This is a device that's intended to hold the wheelchair. So whenever I'm in the van, I come into the van, then I transfer into the driver's seat, and then I swivel the driver's seat around and drive from that. And then my my wheelchair gets backed into this, and these little things click on the van, click in the back of the wheelchair. And when they click into the axle of the wheelchair, that locks it. Then when I'm ready to get back out, I just hit a release here, and then that releases the wheelchair. This is important because if you were to be in a crash, you don't want your wheelchair to become a projectile. And so this is what's going to lock the wheelchair down from being able to be moved. And whenever you don't want this in the way, let's say this is just in your way and you don't want this to be used, you can just pull this little lever and it sits up like this, and it's totally out of the way. It gives you a little bit more access to be in the van. I do like it. It just gives you, so your wheelchair doesn't go back and forth while you're driving. We'll take a look here on the driver's seat too, and here you can see the hand controls. I'm going to reach in and swivel this seat around. So the modification you see that I did here, I did put a power seat on it because it didn't come with a power seat. And then here you see the push-pull hand controls. So that's just a manual hand control. You push down on the brake and then you pull back and it gives it gas. So that's the only driving modification I had to make. Well, in addition to the swivel seat. So let's close this up and we'll go ahead and jump over to the other side and take a look at it. And looking at the other side of the van, this is the part where this door I had to get so that it's a power sliding door. So it's just part of the remote. You just hit the button on the remote and it'll open, or you can just hit the lever, the door opens. Here's where we're going to see the UVL that I had put in. So this is a BRAUN UVL, and in most vans and most vehicles, this is mounted under the vehicle. Well, the downside to that is it takes on all the bad weather, and it takes on all the salt, everything you could throw at it, and it leaves your van, it leaves the lift too easy to be scraped whenever you get over something that you need a higher clearance on. So what I do here now with this lift being in here, this built the floor up. Well, the other benefit to building this floor up, it put my wheelchair at the right height for me to transfer into the driver's seat. So now I don't have to transfer up, I don't have to transfer down, it's just simply a level transfer across. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the lift out with just the remote here. You have up and down and stow. So I'm going to hit down on the lift. The lift comes out. Now, the UVLs just by nature are not the fastest. And when you're in very cold weather, they're really not the fastest because the oil is a little bit colder. So the lift is going to come down, and you can see I've been in some dirt lately. That's why the lift is so dirty. And then when the lift comes down, this bridge in the front is going to come down, and then I'm going to wheel onto it and then lift the lift up. So I'll let you go ahead and go inside there, and I'll lift the lift up. And you can take a look inside the van. And let's take a look at the cab, the driver, the actual dash. You can see the different options that RAM has in the dash. I really didn't do a whole lot of options in this vehicle. This is pretty much a standard RAM van for 2022. They did make some changes from 2021, so it looks a little different. Plenty of airbags in the front. The seats have built-in airbags also. The rear view camera, or the rear view mirror, is actually a camera. Here you also see that I always have a dash cam in my vehicles, but in this mirror for the backup mirror, it's really a camera that comes on. You don't really see it in the mirror like you see it right now. And then we can take a look at the back seat and see what Tempest did. The modifications made for the seating area was Tempest, and then the modifications made for the wheelchair modifications was done by Keystone Coachworks in Pennsylvania. So okay, come on back out and we'll take a look here. Shine on the floor. Now you can see in the floor of the van, I did have the tie downs put in so that if a passenger was going to stay in their wheelchair, you could just simply put the ratchet straps into these hooks, and that would tie the chair down. And now let's go ahead and we'll close the lift up and see how that goes back in. It's just a matter of hitting stow. So I'm just going to hit the stow button. The lift is going to close up the first bridge. And then the lift is going to go up, and then it's going to suck right back into the vehicle, and it's going to stay hidden so you don't really see it. So when the vehicle is closed up, you don't know that there's a wheelchair lift inside here. And again, the beauty of putting the lift in here is that it stays dry, it stays clean no matter what elements you're driving in. I've got about 3,000 miles on the van so far, so it's got some little bit of scuffs on the UVL from coming out in stone. Just hit the door to close, and then if I were in the van, I'd transfer to the driver's seat and then just swivel right back over. We'll take a look in the back of the van. So here in the back of the van, don't have much cargo area here, but the doors do open nice and wide. And this in the back that you see, this work was all done by Tempest that did the interior in it. The van's fairly high. It barely fits into my garage, which is an 8-foot garage door. The one thing about this van, being it's really a work van is how it's sold, and it rides very rough. So unless you have some weight put in the van, it's a very rough riding van. Whenever it's just me in the van with no passengers, it rides like a truck. So now the question I know a lot of people want to know about, what did everything cost? So just going over the van by itself, the van is right about $50,000 for the van. That's buying the van from Dodge as you see it from the outside. But then it didn't have the windows, it didn't have the sunroof, it didn't have the interior. So then it goes to a company, Tempest, and Tempest puts the interior in it, and this interior with the power door costs right around $24,000. And then you have the wheelchair modifications part. So you have the wheelchair lift and the hand controls and the thing to hold the wheelchair. All of that together is about another $25,000. So hopefully you could get, your state OV, something like that, to help with paying for the modifications. Overall, I'm really happy with the van. The mileage is about 18 miles per gallon. Really easy to drive. You sit up nice and high in it. people will mistake you for being the Amazon delivery guy whenever you show up at their house. But you know what? That's okay. That lets you stop anywhere you want to along the road and block traffic because you're Amazon, so it doesn't matter. But if you have any questions, post them below. I'd be happy to answer anything you have, and hope the video has helped you.